Indeed. Okay, well, let's end with this then, because there's been some updates on what's been going on in the Netherlands with the Dutch farmers. So first of all, heavy-handed measures by the Dutch police to shut down farmers' protests against the government, who are threatening forced buyouts of 3,000 farms in an attempt to reduce nitrogen oxide emissions as mandated by the EU, is what the tweet says from James Melville. So, of course, the Dutch government wanting to buy and close down 3,000 farms near what they describe as environmentally sensitive areas. They are attempting to shut down also nitrogen pollution, is what they're claiming. So that's some of the footage. Here's some more footage from another Twitter feed with the big excavators, earth movers, whatever they are, trying to push the tractors out of the way. But as we'll see in a second on this particular clip, the guy who's standing in front of the officials' heavy weaponry there is about to get dragged into a van by some plainclothes guys. So
the Dutch police are coming out with bulldozers and thugs, basically, unmarked vans with plainclothes thugs. They're supposedly police. I'm not sure. I think they'll show that in a second.
Well, they will do. So it is quite incredible that this continues to go on with very little coverage in the Western media, in the UK media at least.
Here's the paddy wagon and the football hooligans working for the police.
Yes.
Masks, everything, just grabbing people right off the street, throwing them in a van.
Now, the key point here is that the Netherlands is a particularly special country with respect to farming. Many people don't know this. They have a process called the Haber-Bosch process that they use for food production. And as a result of that process, farming in the Netherlands, rather, is the second largest food exporter in the world. This has massive implications for food availability, food security, not just in the Netherlands, but in Europe and the rest of the world. If the Netherlands starts to shut down its food production. But it's not just in the Netherlands. In the UK, farm leaders warn of huge contraction in UK food production. This is Farmers Weekly from a few weeks ago. We're seeing huge contraction in the protected crops sector. They're also seeing huge contraction in vegetables and fruits in the UK. And I left that see also at the top of that little insert there, food production and environment go hand in hand, says DEFRA Minister, because of course at the back of this, Patrick, is the Agenda 2030 and the various World Economic Forum, a Green New Deal, levelling up, whatever term you want to put on it, and so on. Also in the UK, we've got to remind ourselves, record avian flu outbreaks sees 48 million birds killed in the UK and EU as slaughtered on suspicion progresses, and we're starting to see availability problems as a result. This is Birmingham Live. Supermarkets report stock shortages, but this isn't something that's new. This has been going on for a while. So this is back in 2021. Shops record lowest stock levels since 1983. The shortage could last until Christmas. And here's a more up-to-date article from July. Lidl says stock issues to blame for empty freezers and chillers. This continues to go on, not the Netherlands, not just the UK, also France. Let's do a quick translation of this. Stoppages in sight for food production. And basically, this is the canned food specialist Coflego, or I can't remember exactly what they're called, but anyway, 300 million euro turnover. They have temporarily shut down 4 of its 8 factories in France beginning on the 2nd of January. That's 80% of its production, and this is a result of the cost of energy. Okay, so this is the announcement that it's actually going to shut down most of their production. But if we move on to this, France sees soft wheat crop down 7% in this year. And so this is also the availability of food and so on going into the food production chain is also causing problems as well. But of course, what's the reason for it, Patrick? It's not government policy, it's conflict. Because as with health issues and hospitals not doing the jobs, that's not government policy, that's COVID does that. In this area with energy or with food production, the reductions in availability are not because of government policy, they're because of conflict. We've got to make sure we remember that always.
And who's responsible for the conflict? Putin. Everybody say it all together. Putin, Vladimir Putin, it's his fault. Mike, the question is, if Europe can't produce food, or food production gets disrupted or reduced in Europe because they literally can't afford to either run factories, the government is shut downing farmlands, wanting to rewild farmlands, take the Dutch off the farmlands because of climate change goals, where's the food going to come from? It's going to have to get imported from somewhere, and it's going to be not cheaper, it's going to be more expensive. I dare say the quality will be less, and GMO will then be a major option. So those who are well invested in, like Monsanto and Mr. Gates and so forth, fake meat being produced elsewhere via soya crops or whatever, and that's going to get imported. So this is an interesting trend. Europe, the UK, not able to produce energy, not able to produce food, totally at the whims of external forces.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Patrick, but 6 months or a year ago, maybe a bit longer, there were headlines about Bill Gates buying up huge quantities of farmland. Now, as we see the small farmer being pushed out of the market, did Bill know something at that stage, do you think?
Well, that's why he's rich, Mike, because he's just that much smarter than everybody else. He knows where to park his money ahead of time, because he foresees these things like pandemics. This is why he is the great entrepreneur and philanthropist that he is, Mr. Bill Gates.
Indeed. Vanessa, thoughts?
Well, also not forgetting that Zelensky sold off, I think it was 18 million hectares of Ukrainian arable land to the likes of Monsanto. So as I said, the majority of Ukraine doesn't belong to Ukraine anyway.
Yes.
But also, that's an interesting slot into what you've been talking about.
Thank you for that.
But the good news is, Mike, they're loosening up marijuana laws. So, if it's all too much for you and the stress is too much, you can just
have a smoke.
You can get stoned, and maybe even Rishi will have a voucher for that this winter. So there's something to look forward to.
Okay, well, on that note, we've got to leave it for today. We'll be back in a couple of minutes for some extra on the main live stream. But otherwise, we'll see you at 1 p.m. on Monday. Hope everyone has a great weekend. See you then. Bye-bye.